Good morning and welcome to another episode of Too Large and a Sarge. I'm Sam.
I'm Nancy.
And I'm Tegan.
Remember, we're rated R. That means real people, real situations, and real topics.
And don't forget, every day, Monday through Friday, the show starts at 7 a.m.
And you can catch us on Facebook, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
All right, well, the topic of today, to start out today, is Matt Lauer being fired from the Today Show. It just goes along with a whole string of recent allegations. Apparently, during the first reports came out, it was the 2016 Olympics, and then it came out that it was the 2014 Winter Olympics, that a female staff member was inappropriately touched, harassed, or something during there, and she just came out. She didn't tell the local media. She went to the NBC Human Resources Department, and apparently they found out that it was so compelling, the evidence, they fired Matt Lauer on the spot.
And this is from 2014.
This is from 2014.
And now it's happening now in 2017.
Happening, just breaking news.
And this, all over the board, this seems to be happening. Like, it's not, some of the things might be kind of current, but it's like they're all coming out in droves over things that have happened years ago. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about this whole situation. I mean, let's start it off. I got several messages this morning. Oh my gosh, Matt Lauer. They fired Matt Lauer, Matt Lauer, Matt Lauer. So I went into work and I took a look at the one article on the internet about it. And they had a video attached, which was the video this morning of Savannah actually breaking the news to the public that Matt Lauer was terminated. I have a huge issue with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Savannah, look, I was on a morning show. My co-host and I on our morning show were the best of friends in the entire world.
Right.
We not only had a relationship on the show and the chemistry on the show, but once that mic was turned off, he was one of my best friends in the entire world. How dare NBC make Savannah take a person that she's been working with side by side, the dearest of friends? They know people's situations. They knew, I've worked on a morning show. People in the same building that had morning shows together didn't like each other. You know who likes each other and who doesn't. How dare NBC go to Savannah and tell her that she has to be the one to break this news to the public? I felt bad for her. I felt bad.
Well, you could see it in the video. It was like, I watched it as soon as I saw the news on it, and I was one of the 1 million people that texted you. and I was like, I really felt bad for her because you could tell.
I didn't get that right away. She said it happened minutes ago, that they were just told, informed. Right. And I'm thinking maybe her as a journalist, they said, hey, this just happened. And maybe, we don't know, maybe she made a decision is I want to go on and I want to do it.
Maybe she did. Maybe she wanted to do it because she knew somebody else might not take it,
Doing it as tasteful.
Right.
Yeah, doing it as tasteful
Right.
is what she did. Because she said she felt bad, and she also said she felt sorry for the victim also.
Right.
It definitely demonstrated Savannah and her capabilities of being a non-biased host on that program.
Absolutely.
She executed it flawlessly. You knew that she wanted to break down and probably just bawl in front of everybody. She kept it together, and for the sake of the show, she kept rolling with it. That's a sign of a true professional. I still think, though, instead of Hoda being there, maybe they should have had somebody else at least read the message or something.
Yeah.
And she could have even put in, her 20 or 30 seconds of, hey, I feel bad for the victim, and thank you for your strength for coming out about this, and I just feel bad about the circumstances. But it was intense. It was intense to see that video. I would not have wanted to be in her shoes.
Right. But like Sam said, maybe she told them, hey, this is mine. I'm doing this.
He would want me to do it.
Yeah.
That could be it too, And corporate in some cases, believe me, I understand this. They're the powers that be. They make decisions sometimes, and sometimes they have to make decisions they may not necessarily want to make, but if there's serious legalities attached to it that could affect the entire company, things happen, I suppose.
Absolutely.
You were saying, Tegan, that you were reading about all sorts of people talking about karma and...
Yeah, there was a lot of posts today about karma with Matt and the situation back in 2011 with Ann Curry. Because basically, I don't know 100% the details because all these stories are pretty much vague, but that he had a major part in her losing her job. And it was only 6 months like she had started being the co-host of Today back in June 2011. And then, I mean, the first 6 months, basically Lauer openly complained about her. And I mean, that's how she lost her job.
I wonder what he had to complain about.
I don't know. I'm not sure because, I mean, she was a professional for an extremely long time. I mean, she started...
Well, she was on there for a while even before she was a co-host, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I've always seen Matt Lauer as like a smug man, and
He comes across that way.
I never liked him, and I really don't like the Today Show anyway, but he just seems like he's arrogant, and like whenever some of these men that they're, some you're like, oh my god, so-and-so said sexually assaulted somebody, but the other ones you just look at, you're like, he did it. I don't care, guilty or whatever, nobody knows. You can look at somebody and just see the arrogance of some people.
Absolutely.
Something was unsettling about him from the time I first laid my eyes on him, and from that point forward, I kind of got those vibes from him. So I'm not really shocked to hear that. I just am kind of disturbed about the fact that 2014 is when this happens.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't understand why it takes that long for you to make up your mind that you want to now go forward 3 years after it happens at the job.
Right. And if she had that good of an evidence, obviously, I don't...
Who knows what's going on? Who knows how severe it was? And who knows? Everybody deals with stuff differently. And it might have traumatized her that bad that she wasn't able to talk to it. Maybe she just now started talking to it. There's people that are assault victims that never tell anybody about it.
True.
Maybe it was, hey, you have to talk to somebody about this for closure or something, or... Maybe she's using it for her own personal gain. Like, oh yeah, Matt touched me, or he did this, and I want a job, or I want some pay now, or something. Maybe it's not for the right reasons.
Who knows what the circumstances are, and we'll never know what the circumstances are because it'll always be him versus her.
Right.
There's a couple points that I want to bring up about this. The first one is I do feel bad for men in the workplace. And what I mean by that is, why are you laughing? I do. I feel bad. I do feel in some ways that there are double standards in certain things. We don't know what the circumstances were, okay? For all we know, there could have been flirtation on both parts, and then when he finally decided to maybe see where it was going to go, then she pumped the brakes on it, or it could have been something where who's to say that maybe she wasn't the aggressor in it and he decided to bite on it and she wanted to use that as proof to get him terminated. Maybe she didn't like him.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is. We'll never
know.
know. And I think guys have to be more careful about sexual harassment charges than women. There's probably going to be people that are going to be upset to hear me say that, but I really think so. I worked in numerous environments where I was the minority. And I hate to say it, I think me being the minority with another woman or two, I think we were worse than all the guys. I hate to say it. I think we were the ones that are more free, and I think the guys have to tiptoe around being themselves a little bit more. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that. I feel bad.
I've seen it in another workplace, and this guy, he was a real creep, and he creeped around the nurses. But what he didn't realize is she didn't want sexual advances or sexual harassment from him. She didn't mind it from the good-looking people that worked there.
Wow.
So he's standing around watching all these guys say some nasty stuff to her.
Yeah.
And then he says it, and then all of a sudden it's not okay.
That's
mean,
not right.
if you lie with dogs, you're going to get fleas. If
Right.
if somebody has those tendencies, obviously their mind's not right. So don't let other people do it and then say, no, you can't do it because you're not attractive or I don't like you.
If I'm going to open up that can of worms, I'm very flamboyant. I'm very dramatic. I'm very over the top. I like to go to extremes. I've opened up that Pandora's box, okay? If somebody comes up to me and maybe they do push it too far, or maybe I don't like the vibe that they have, I'm just going to look at them and say, that was kind of creepy. Could you not say that again? Like, could that not happen? I'm not going to go and take their job because of it.
No.
Now, after you tell them clearly, like, hey, I'm not feeling this vibe, and it would continue after that,
Then it's harassment.
right. Same goes with me. I say some really extreme stuff. I don't want any interviews done to any of my coworkers currently from some of the things I say. Anytime though, I would be there, and if anybody would ever come to me and go, you know what, Nance?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to settle down a
yeah.
little bit.
Well, you would.
You stop.
Right.
Yeah, you stop and you just move forward. But I feel bad because even at my workplace, the guys are very hesitant to you can see that they want to partake in mine and another coworkers or two conversation. We're fun people. We laugh. We like to have a good time. But I think there's a hesitancy there. I think that they're just nervous. And I feel bad because that's the way it seems to be. And this Matt Lauer situation in particular, too, we've got it, 3 years later it happens. Let's take our workplaces. Let's not take celebrities in Hollywood or anything like that. Let's just take the average Joe in the workplace. This should be a resounding message to anybody saying, be careful who you talk to,
right,
what content you use, how you use it, because you might be their friend today, or you might be feeling their vibe and they're feeling your vibe. But who's to say a couple years down the line that doesn't turn into a sexual harassment?
Right.
And I'm not saying that doesn't happen to men, because it does. I've gone through EEO courses in the military, and you learn that it actually happens more to men in a male-dominant workplace or military. Men just don't report it. Men don't say, hey, I was sexually assaulted. Hey, I was sexually harassed.
Yeah.
They don't say it to anybody.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too, because it's not in a man's nature to run and tell somebody that
you don't tell them, and it's not funny, but just recently, as weird as he is, and maybe he's weird because of that, Corey Feldman has came out and said about whenever he was young in Hollywood, about being raped by men. And he even tweeted today, is like, well, maybe that's why Matt Lauer was getting so upset during his interview, what he was trying to say about all this stuff, that Matt Lauer was getting upset with him during the interview when he was talking about, the men in Hollywood touching.
Oh, Matt Lauer was getting upset with Corey.
Yeah, whenever they were doing it. And who knows, Corey, between the two of them, Corey Haim was more feminine than Corey Feldman. So who knows? Those two were inseparable. So who knows what happened to Corey Haim? We don't know. He basically, did he kill himself, or he drug overdose, or he killed himself. He killed himself because he's taking drugs. He overdosed on drugs. That's what he wanted. He was trying to hide something,
right, or
suppress something that has happened in his life.
So you're saying that you believe Corey Feldman, when he came out and started talking about this, Matt Lauer got upset because Matt Lauer harassed people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's
it's
got to be a common practice.
Yeah.
It's got to be common practice in the show business. Somebody makes it big. Hey, do you want to make it big?
Yeah.
Guess what?
You have to do this.
I am the one you need to sleep with or do something for to make it big. I'll take your resume right to the boss.
Right.
It's been going on ever since the beginning of Hollywood. It has to have been.
I think a lot of things go on there. I think there's a lot of different factors that come into play. I agree with yours. I also believe, too, that for some of these singers, some of these actresses or actors' schedules, they're rigorous schedules. Not only are they filming movies, but they have to go to shows, they have to go to radio stations, they have to go wherever, and they have to do interviews. They have a full schedule if they're up and coming and successful. How do you maintain that? How do you keep going and flying from one side of the country the whole way to the other side of the country, across the oceans to another place? You're gonna start taking some stuff. They're gonna start giving you some stuff to keep you up and keep you energetic and keep you motivated.
I'm sure the drug underneath all the...
Sure. So picture these young kids or these youth, the teenagers or whatever. They're having to not be kids anymore, and they have these rigorous schedules, and they're going to get tired because they're human like everybody else. So it starts off with something small. Here, take this. This will keep you going. This will keep you going. And then it starts moving into like Drew Barrymore. I mean, she went crazy with the drugs and alcohol.
There's pictures. There was pictures back when she was 11 years old. You can just see she's wasted at a party. Yeah. And, reports of her being addicted to alcohol and addicted to cocaine. And her mom would let her, and she would take her to these parties. And, and what else was happening to that little girl?
Yeah.
If you're going to give a little girl cocaine, you're going to do other stuff with a little
That's
girl.
My
Absolutely.
point. That's my whole point. And even for adults, these things are going to happen to some of the adults too, because they start finding addiction as a way to solve a lot of problems, to solve fatigue and just still keep going and be happy. There's always pills you can take to be happy and energetic. And I think another aspect of it too is I've found, and I know we're not talking Hollywood, but I've talked to, I at one point in time was a local celebrity. And even on that minimal level, most of the people I worked with that were on air talents were sad people. Most of the people that were on air talents were depressed people. They were very unhappy people. I can't imagine on a larger scale where millions upon millions upon millions of people, this almost goes in with our Jim Carrey conversation the other day. There's a point behind this. You look for an escape. So people that are great entertainers like Jim Carrey or your Lady Gagas or whoever, you know, big entertainers, they're using this as an outlet to give other people happiness. Try to, I think, take care of their own demons through what they're giving to their audience and to their crowds. And I think with that comes, I'm sure they have doctors that want to put them on different things.
Oh, of course.
To try to
they pay
alleviate
doctors to
this.
tell them this is what I want.
Right.
And of course, the doctors, instead of making $90,000 to $150,000, are making $1 million a year because they will prescribe fentanyl or whatever else it is to make them feel better.
Right.
Absolutely.
I looked up quick. Said Corey Haim died of pneumonia, but I mean,
I know he wasn't doing well. He was on drugs
he,
and everything
he
else.
had such a big drug addiction that I'm sure any kind of sickness just ripped them apart.
Yeah, they and we're not. If Matt Lauer is innocent or he's guilty, he's not the only one. Charlie Rose was just let go from CBS last week, and the whole Harvey Weinstein. Apparently, a lot of actresses have gotten a lot of parts in movies because of Harvey Weinstein.
And he's disgusting.
He is disgusting.
Yeah, but if he was a Channing Tatum, he would have not probably had any sexual harassment lawsuits.
See, I don't
against
know.
him.
Like, I don't know.
Possibly, but who knows to the extent of, like, you look at Channing Tatum and like, yeah, he's chiseled, he's built and he's very good looking. But if he was a weirdo, maybe it's not so much the looks with Harvey Weinstein. He looks like he's a weirdo. Maybe he was in some, maybe he was into some sadistic stuff where he just, just weird stuff.
But one of the stories about that disturbs me too. I don't remember who it was, but there was an incident, I guess, with one of these victims of Harvey Weinstein. She went to his apartment, and she said, from the first time I went there, he gave me the creeps and freaked me out.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Call me crazy. If you go into his apartment and he starts getting creepy with you, why do you go back 4 and 5 times?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they want that fame. They want that money.
Tell me
They
about
want that recognition.
That's my whole point. Look, if I had to have communications with Harvey Weinstein to be able to further my career, and I go to his apartment and he starts putting like the feelers out on me or whatever, I'm going to be like, you know what, Harvey? We need to talk again. Let's go down the street. Let's go to a park with a cup of coffee. How about that? How about we have a conversation in the park? How about that? How about we go by a fountain, or how about we go into a cafe, or maybe a nice lunch together in a nice, heavily populated place.
As kids growing up, you reach up, you touch the stove. The stove is hot. You get burnt. Guess what? You don't do again.
You don't touch the stove again.
You don't reach up and you don't touch the stove again. You got people going back multiple times, and now they're saying, oh, I was sexually assaulted 4 or 5 times. Every time I went to so-and-so's house. Well, guess what? Stop going to so-and-so's house.
Right.
I'm not saying that, back in the day when they were like, whoa, did you see what she was wearing? Or did you see how she acts? You're putting yourself in a situation. It's the same as if you went down in the city or, someplace where it's unsafe with money just hanging out of your pockets. Like, oh, I got robbed. Well, yeah, you got robbed because you put yourself in that situation. Your first time, what's the saying? You fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It kind of works there. Hey, the first time I didn't know it was going to happen. That's your fault. The second time you knowingly are alone with these individuals. That's on you. Right. You know it's going to happen.
You know it's going to happen. If you already got the creepy vibe, you got the creepy vibe. But he's already put the moves on you. You know he's going to do it again. But here's where it just gets so complicated, and this is what makes life so complicated. Like, let's get back to just sexual harassment in general. Let's just take sexual harassment in the workplace. What happened to Matt Lauer? There's so many double standards. Like, there really, really is. Let's take a previous job you and I both had. There were people in that building that we worked with, myself included, that was able to crack jokes with other people for entertainment purposes only. You totally knew. I would crack jokes with people all the time. And I was always on the edge, and I always said risky things, but they knew my intents behind it. They knew I wasn't trying to be a creep show. I was trying to do it to make you laugh. I mean, it's a tough job. My whole job at that was to be an entertainer. You crack jokes with people. And it was okay. I've never had any issues with that. I've never at that job had any issues. But then you had another coworker there that would say the minimal thing, like if he went up to a girl and said, boy, that sweater looks good on you, then one of the girls would say, I think he was staring at my tits. And it's like, whoa. No, he comes off as creepy, but he really probably just genuinely liked your sweater.
Sometimes a compliment's just a compliment.
Yeah, and I feel bad
Absolutely.
for him. Or he would try to fit in with the mix and say something, and we would all be talking about it, but he'd make a comment and throw it in, and then at the end of the conversation, once he walked away, they'd be like, ew. Oh, he's just so creepy, gross. And I'm thinking,
It's double standards.
we talk 10 times worse than that. That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
why I feel bad. Like, so at NBC, don't tell me it is like a church at NBC.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
We're not holding Bibles in our hands, or we're not, Hail Marys, anything like that. Like it's not
We've
happening.
worked in offices before. We've worked at different places. The talk's not always professional.
No, of
And
course
and that's not just because we're down here or we're middle class. That's human beings being human beings.
Right. It happens all the time. What's unfair is certain people can't execute certain things like other people can.
Well, no, and I think, in the instance you were talking about, a certain person that we used to work with, with him, it wasn't just that. There were things that, when it comes to physical touching,
He would
in the
touch people.
workplace, yeah.
He would touch people, or he would forget to wear all of his clothes in certain places, and he was really hairy and stuff. Which that's probably why he took half his clothes off, is because he was so hairy. He was probably extra warm compared to everybody else. And then being in some of the rooms that were hot from the equipment, that's probably the reason why we saw beads of sweat forming off the hairs or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I think it's obviously there's a double standard when people talk and you get one reaction. I could say something and get one reaction, and you could say the same thing and get a completely different reaction. But when it comes to these accusations with touching, I have a hard time with these women or men years later. Like if it was something that screwed you up that bad, why do you wait so long?
why are we talking about it now? Why are we talking about it now?
know.
That's why I'm saying you can't trust anybody at the place that you work. You might have flirtation, you might have fun, you might have laughs, and the next thing you know, somebody's rubbed the wrong way one day, and all of a sudden now your termination slip's being put into your hands, or an investigation's going on because of a sexual harassment. And the thing that's scary about, depending on how you do it too, is it via social media? Is it via email? Is it via that still leaves imprints.
Right.
That still leaves proof somewhere floating
course.
around in cyberspace.
Of course.
So what happens down the line when the person gets a chip on their shoulder and the next thing they go is, "Hey, check this out. I saved these. You take a look at
Yeah.
this. Here, that's for you. I was harassed."
Clearly but the fact that they saved them and things like that come out later, they had a purpose for that. They were keeping it for a specific time to do specific damage.
Probably for personal gain.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's Hollywood, or it's fame, and everybody wants that fame, and everybody wants the paycheck. What other reason are you doing it for? If it's not immediately done because you felt like there was a crime committed, I have a whole problem with the whole Penn State thing, and people still like Penn State and they still watch Penn State. It was covered up. They were like, "Well, yeah, but Joe Pa, he said about it." Joe Pa told the bosses, and they did nothing.
Right.
He should have went to the police.
Right.
They covered it all up for years to save the reputation of Penn State football.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did. I agree.
How many other little boys suffered the same fate as the boys that were seen in a shower being raped and molested by the sick, evil Jerry Sandusky, that it didn't have to happen if Joe Pa would have said, "Hey, I've seen this," or "Hey, I've heard about this." "Oh, well, yeah, we're just going to let it go." No, we can't let it go.
No, you
But
can't
as,
let
as
go.
parents, how could you not notice the clues or the signals that something was going on with your kid too?
I don't
I think
know.
after you've
Well,
been,
these kids were like the second mile or whatever it was. They were kind of like orphan kids and everything else. Like it was a big charity group for like a boys' home and everything else that they were doing good. They wanted to do good for these people, these kids. These kids had nothing else in their life, and then this sick predator swoops in and makes their life even worse.
Right.
And whatever they were paid wasn't enough. They should have been paid more.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
like the altar boys in the Catholic churches and everything else. Yeah, these kids are now just coming out saying that this happened to me also.
But these were kids.
They are kids, but is it just now coming out because they're like, "Oh, these other people are getting paid too.
Oh, well, yeah.
I
that
want to
too.
get paid too."
I have no
Right.
problem with that.
Well, if that's the case, and you went through that as a kid, yeah, you're going to get paid. I want you to get paid. But these are adults knowingly putting themselves in situations where, you go to Bill Cosby's house,
I'm not going to Bill Cosby's house.
have some Jello,
Here's a pudding pop. For
here's some, oh wow, Jello, and the next thing you wake up and your underwear's in the corner, you're like, probably, probably shouldn't eat Jell-O. And you go back over there again, and then Bill goes, "Oh, let's have some more Jell-O." And he's got Mortimer Marker, and you're like, "This is a good time. Here's some more Jell-O." You eat some more Jell-O, and the same thing happens. Whose fault is it now? Because now you're going over to Bill Cosby's house, and he's saying, "You know what? Because they're sick individuals. They're sick individuals that would do this to another human being. If you go back over, he's saying, you're giving me permission to do what I've already done because you know it's already happened."
Right.
Why is everybody laughing at me?
Because of your Bill Cosby Jell-O. I'm never going to look at Jell-O this again.
I'm just trying to put it where everybody would
it
like.
Makes sense. No, what you say is absolutely true. You know, do it once, shame on you. Do it twice, shame on me.
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't think that any of this is funny. Like, I told you I laugh at funerals. I can't help it. But
my portray of Bill Cosby was
the drug Jell-O
was funny,
and the bloody underwear.
And I'm trying, and it's a very serious topic. As these two are laughing, but it's a very serious topic, and I'll get into it here in a little bit. Why it hits so close to home for myself. We're trying to make it a little bit easier pill to swallow because it's rough. It's rough to talk about this.
Jell-O to swallow.
Oh, stop with the Jell-O. When you start laughing, I can't help it. Now I'm just hot.
Matt Lauer, sexual harassment. Let's get back on that for a minute.
Apparently, this is a one-time thing with this lady. Now they're talking about different places. Well, maybe this wasn't an isolated incident.
Right.
Well, nobody else is coming forward just yet. It's speculation. I'm going to assume that it's speculation. But apparently it was bad enough that they had enough evidence.
We have to get details. If it was touch, I do believe verbal and touch are two different things when it comes to sexual harassment. I do. If it was something that was said and she didn't like it, I think everybody deserves their fair shot to make it stop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if he made an advance to her, maybe he was picking up vibes or something like that, and he verbalized something to her, and she said, not so much. Give Matt the opportunity to shut his big lips and carry on. Now, if it's something where he made a move, an advancement, a physical advancement on her, then okay. I think it's a little different. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that way, but I mean, I'm probably a little more sensitive to things like that because, I just say a lot of crazy stuff all the time. But it's for shock value, number one. It's for entertainment purposes, number one.
There's a big difference, though.
I do it just to make somebody laugh, but sometimes I've had to have friends look at me and go, Nancy, too much. And I'll go, okay, all right. Really? You think that was? Oh yeah. I think we've hit our limit. I'll be like, okay, that's fine. So I'll go and carry on about with life like I normally would.
And that's the difference between you and somebody that doesn't obviously understand that what they're doing is wrong.
Sure, I don't want to hurt anybody.
No,
I want people to laugh alongside me. Like I want us to have a good time, and I'm an entertainer by nature, so it's my duty. I feel to break up that humdrum of the day-to-day workplace. I
mean, it's scripted. It's in the movies. They have a serious part, then they have a little bit of lightheartedness to break that up.
Yes.
And I think that's our way of dealing with a serious situation. I don't think sexual assault or any of that is acceptable or funny.
No.
And also, there has been times that a inappropriate behavior didn't happen or sexual assault didn't happen, and the man was accused. Just because they were accused, they were guilty. And you carry that stigma with you for a long time.
And that goes back to it not being fair in the workplace, though. I mean, I've got guys cowering at my workplace that I know that they want to have fun with us and they want to laugh with us and be entertained with us, and they still chuckle and they still laugh, but there's that fear there.
There is fear, and there's always going to be something, and this hits pretty close to home for me. When I was growing up and I was a teenager, I had sex with a teenage girl. She had a boyfriend. She did not want her boyfriend to find out that she had sex with me, so she told her mother that I raped her. My mother came to the high school, and now my mom was always, men are bad, all men want is this and everything else. So in my mother's eyes, before she even asked me, I was guilty. She pulled me out of school and said, "What did you do wrong this weekend?" I'm like, what do you mean? Did you rape so and so? No. Mom, she said, this and everything. I don't believe you, and I can't trust you around my daughters now, and I can't this and everything else. Well, it came out that she had admitted to lying that it was consensual.
Well, thank goodness.
It was consensual, but still there was people in my hometown who were like, well, there's so and so he did, and it was years before I even had a girlfriend or even thought about having a girlfriend because I was afraid that would happen again.
Right.
I just feel bad. Yeah.
And it's it was more mental for me, but it was almost the same thing as me being raped because it was all a lie, and then I had I contemplated suicide over it as a teenager. I like how could I go on for this? You can't.
There are ugly people in this world. There are malicious people in this world. There are people in this world that love drama. They love people being miserable because they're miserable themselves, and they'll look for any way possible to try to bring somebody else down. And unfortunately, I think in some cases with some women, they know that they hold the power in their vagina to be able to go and ruin guys' lives. Maybe they've made advancements towards them and the guy didn't reciprocate, or maybe they thought they were going to be in a relationship together and the guy went back with his wife, and the next thing you know, HR is calling this guy in and he's getting his paperwork and he's
right. And
gone.
it happens all the time.
It happens
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, so like women are just as bad as men. Like I don't think it's men or I don't think it's all men.
I don't think so either.
I've seen plenty of things that have happened that women...
There are women out there that like to be victims.
Absolutely.
They want to be victims.
Of course they do.
Boo-hoo to me. My life stinks. I'm going to talk to you. I want a life with you. I want to be with you. Oh, you don't want to be with me? Okay, well, we just flirted for this long. Okay, so that's not going to happen? All right. That's fine. Well, I'm not going to be able to look at your face anymore at the job either. So here's what I'm going to do.
That's awful.
I'm going to go and I'm going to say, yeah, we might have had flirtatious conversation with each other, but I stopped it and you put your hands on me anyway.
And the bad part of it is, and the initial, whether it's true or not, like these companies have to follow through with this stuff, especially in today's world. This poor guy, could be completely innocent, but it doesn't matter now.
Well, they don't want to be sued for not pursuing it.
Right.
Like if they well, I told the company, and now not only does this guy get fired, they have to pay out a lot of money so they have to take everything that's taken to them seriously.
Right.
They have no choice but to do this.
Right.
I'm actually looking up a movie right now. I'm going to make sure I got the title right that actually touches on that whole sort of scenario there. Or maybe you can answer this question. What was the name? Nope, that's not it. What was the Demi Moore, Michael Douglas movie where she worked at a company? She and Michael Douglas had a hot, steamy relationship back in the days. They were no longer together. She put the moves on him because she wanted to rekindle some sort of like an affair. And he went to the company and said that she sexually harassed him, but she said that he harassed her, and that it was disclosure. That's what it was called, disclosure.
I don't know if I've seen that.
He ends up having to fight for his innocence in court. She's trying to pull his pants down and everything else in the scene, and he's fighting to make this not happen. He pulls her away, leaves the scene, and because he didn't return the sexual favor to her, she got his job taken away from him. He had to go fight it. It was like about him fighting in a court.
And she was stealing his promotion. Apparently, he was coming up with a new innovative product.
Yeah, it was intense. But that's again just a scenario of what happens every day. So who knows what happened.
I know, and you fully none of us down here on our level of
peons.
Like you never know the full story.
No, you don't. And speaking of people that are not peons, people that are paid big bucks, Kevin Spacey was one that we haven't talked about either.
Ooh.
Man, that guy.
And now that you say, now all this stuff's coming out, you're like, yeah, I can see where he can be a little bit of a weirdo just because the characters he plays, he seems a little...
He comes off that way.
But I've always loved him in every movie he's ever been in. I thought he's an amazing actor, and apparently he's a homosexual. He came out and said, hey, I'm gay. And that's not what we're
sure, carry on.
Right.
That's fine. And you can be whatever you want, but don't affect other people because of it. And apparently he's come on to a lot of
and this money, I think the money and the power thing come in. Like do they just think that it's okay? They make enough money, who cares?
Well, they get the complexes like they're gods, because people pay to see them, and they
Yeah, but that goes along again, though, with, okay, the one incident in particular, here's what happened. Now, there was a line that needed to be drawn when this pursued further, but let me give you an example of, like, the one scenario with Kevin Spacey. There was a guy overseas, I guess he was in London or something like that. He was a waiter at one of his favorite restaurants. Kevin said, well, come back to my pad, I'm having a big party, you can bring a couple friends. So this guy brings this girl, I don't know if it was his girlfriend or not, I'm sorry, I don't have that information, but he brings a female that he likes or is with, and he brings his buddy. So they're at the party, they're hanging out. Kevin Spacey looks at the guy's friend and says, hey, is that girl with him? Are they a couple? And the guy either said yeah, or he wants to be her boyfriend or whatever. And I guess Kevin sat down next to the other guy or turned around and looked at the other guy and said, well, I can perform oral on you better than she could perform it on you. Was that probably not the best thing to say?
No, but it's not, I mean...
But first off, it's Kevin Spacey. Why the heck would Kevin Spacey just invite a random person over to his house unless there was...
that was just poor judgment.
Something else
part,
attached
clearly.
to it. Again, it goes along with the pudding. Or I mean the Jell-O.
The pudding.
Now it's pudding now. Now we're lacing pudding.
Pops.
But it goes along with... Sam's doing his best Bill Cosby impersonation right now. But it goes along with that. I mean, if a celebrity's inviting you to their home, it's not going to have tea and crumpets. They're not inviting you to the house to have tea and crumpets. They have enough friends in their social circle that there'd be no reason for them to invite you over other than, I believe, some shape or form of a sexual proposition.
Same thing as groupies going backstage at a concert. You're not going backstage because you're so interesting that the band who's famous wants to meet you.
No.
They want to sit down and talk to you and find out about how your week was. That's not happening.
I mean, these girls made careers out of it.
Yeah.
Following these bands to go backstage with
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely.
I mean, it wasn't because they thought they were going to marry them.
And who knows? Like, did he touch this guy, or what else is the?
Well, now Kevin got a little out of control. At the initial party, I mean, if you go to the guy's house and the guy comes on to you, I think, come on, you went to the house. But then he was still on the prowl, and he had done some inappropriate things at the guy's place of employment, like advances and touching him and stuff like that.
That's
line
different.
drawn.
That's
line drawn.
different.
Yeah.
Line drawn. I totally get it. But, I agree with Sam. If you're invited to these people's houses, you're invited backstage, if you're invited to the hotel room and you willingly go and it's a famous celebrity and you flip burgers at McDonald's.
What do you think is going to happen?
You're going to get your burger flipped.
People are
or they're hoping to flip your burgers.
stupid. Like, I mean, if as a professional, if you're going to get an acting job don't you think, go to the place of business? Why does this guy want me to meet him in his home? I mean, red light. Hello. I don't get it.
Unfortunately, there are casting couches.
What'd you say? Casting couches?
Casting couches.
Oh, well, yeah. That term's been around forever.
Forever. Yeah. So if you go to Harvey Weinstein's house and he starts putting advances on you at his casting couch, his casting house, let's call it, at the casting house, then don't go back to the casting house.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just get really frustrated about all of this.
And God rest his soul, with Hugh Hefner. Are you telling me that he's never inappropriately touched somebody?
Oh my gosh, no. Those girls went there
They went there to be famous.
Yes.
They used what they needed to have to get famous.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying, but it happens. You know what these people want from you in order to get you famous. They're doing you a favor. You're not doing them a favor.
Correct.
You owe them something. In their mind, you owe me something. If I'm going to get you a job, if I'm going to get you famous, guess what? You owe me something. And usually they have everything else but sex with people.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just what happens. And I understand that people are trying to be advocates for it to make it stop, but it's never going to stop.
No.
It kind of goes back with
it happens everywhere. It's
the
not
school
just...
principal being a buddy. The school's principles about be a buddy, not a bully. I would love it if the world were just full of buddies.
Absolutely.
Let's let everybody be buddies. I wish everybody were buddies. There'd be far more peace in the entire world if everybody was a buddy and not a bully. Well, guess what? There's bullies. You're never going to stop a bully. And it's part of life. There's good and bad, and there's day and night, and there's happy and sad, and black and white, and that's
every day. Every day everybody is presented with some sort of problem, and I truly believe that it's how you react to it.
I agree.
It's how you deal with it.
Well, let's talk about harassment in the workplace. Let's go back to that. We're having some interesting conversation about harassment in the workplace.
Well, even before that, how about some of these teachers?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it's not just men, it's the females too sleeping with their students.
Why do I think it's more females than men?
Because I think it's more publicized because it's like, oh my God, a female did it.
It's taboo.
It's taboo, and they're like, maybe the teachers are doing it to become famous because they get all kind of recognition in the world because they're a very good-looking female and they're having sex with students, teenage students. And I've seen it in the prison system.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the prison system, if I was working at a female prison and I had sex with one of the inmates, I would be arrested and I'd be in prison. We had numerous females have sex with male prisoners, which is still institutional rape. It's still considered institutional rape because these people are under your control and nothing happens. No charges have ever been pressed against the women that have lost their jobs where I worked.
Don't get me started on that, though. That's a whole other topic for another day. First off, I don't think there should be any female employees in a male prison whatsoever, and I don't think there should be any male employees in a female prison. I just don't think so. I just don't. I don't agree with it. But that's a subject for another day. Putting a woman in a prison, any women, there's male nurses. There's male nurses. Get them in there. Putting any females in a prison with rapists and pedophiles and men that could clearly overpower them should never happen. Should never happen.
Another day.
Since we're on the theme of Matt Lauer, sexual harassment in Hollywood, sexual harassment in the workplace, sexual harassment in general. So what do we do? What do we do at the point where we're in a scenario where we are being sexually harassed? We
need to follow the protocol, and the protocol has always been, when I was in the military, in a prison system, the first step, if you believe you are being sexually harassed. Now, I'm not saying sexually assaulted. If somebody comes and they sexually assault you, you fight for your life and you do whatever you need to do to stop that sexual assault.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Sexual harassment, however, you tell the person, I don't like this, you're sexually harassing me, and now they know, because they might not know, because like I said before, if you do something to somebody and they don't disagree with it or tell you to stop, the next time, it's okay, I've got her permission or I've got his permission because they didn't tell me to stop. You tell your harasser, I don't appreciate this, this is sexual harassment. Now, if they do it again, that's all on them.
That's different.
You report it and you get whatever they're coming to.
And that's it. That's the key exactly. Sexual harassment, every course that I've ever had, and Tegan and I have attended some sexual harassment courses before, I mean, in our job together, it's unwanted sexual advances.
Right.
Unwanted. Now, that goes into a couple of different categories. That could be direct one-on-one, or it could be if Tegan and I were saying something right now totally inappropriate and you were within ear's range of it and you were offended by it. That fits under the same category as sexual harassment as well, too.
Right.
Somebody hearing that behavior.
And I don't think somebody should be necessarily fired over that. Bring them in, say so-and-so was offended at what you did.
Right.
Don't do it again. If they continue to tell jokes or do that behavior, that's on them. They've created their own, they've dug their own grave.
Right.
Everybody deserves a chance. Everybody deserves a chance. So I think
because they might not know that they're harassing somebody, or
they might be harassing somebody, intentionally
right.
harassing somebody. I harass people every day. That's just what I do. But it's out of fun, and I need to be maybe sometimes told, "Hey, Nancy," and when you tell me that, I'm going to listen. Now, where the line should be drawn is if somebody goes, "Hey, I've had enough," and I continue to go. Then that's totally different. I deserve to be reprimanded. I deserve to be, to the fullest extent,
whatever.
Punished, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's where, like with this whole Matt Lauer situation, what happened? Did she clearly tell him no?
Right.
Did she clearly say, this is unwanted, stop? I can't imagine Matt Lauer raping her. I don't think that's, we'll see what happens. We'll find out from the news reports what exactly it is.
Yeah. But we'll find out part of it at least.
One side of the story. Or who knows? Who knows what we'll find out? What do you do for unwanted sexual advances if it's not at the workplace? Say it's amongst people that you know or you socialize with.
If it's unwanted, again, you tell
you have to tell them.
You tell, listen, I'm not I'm not interested in this. This isn't, we're friends. I don't want any more than this. You just have to let them know, because maybe they don't know. Maybe they mistook something you've done or you've said.
And, just by being nice or listening to somebody.
Being nice is sometimes, say a person is down on their luck and they just need, a friendly ear to listen to. And maybe you reach out, being a friend, touch them on the shoulder, touch their hand or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, maybe it's more than what I thought it was. And they make that advance. No, that's not what it was for. Okay, perfect. They go again, it's on them.
I mean, you could even be nice about it. Hey, I'm totally flattered that you find me attractive and that you're into me. I'm just not feeling it right now.
Right.
Nobody needs to ever... And they say that sexual assault and rape and everything else like that really isn't about the act of sex. It's about controlling somebody. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but you don't have to take sex from people. There's always somebody out there that will have sex with you. Whether you have to pay them or go standard, if you have to drop your standards to have sex, do that. Don't ruin somebody's life. Don't put that, that evil with them.
I'm a big fan of prostitution.
Hey, it's been going on for
That's it. They call
Sex
it the oldest,
is sold, yeah.
the oldest profession.
I'm a big fan of prostitution.
Marriage is prostitution. A lot of women use, in a relationship, sex to get what they want.
What women are those?
Well, it's not you. That's kind of a role reversal in this relationship.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%.
You don't think so?
Maybe certain personalities do it, but I don't think it's the norm. Is it? It's not my norm.
Okay, let's here.
You better break this down.
We both know
Break it down,
one
Sammy.
girl that used to work with you, right? Mm-hmm. And she would whine and she'd act like she's all this and everything else until...
Are you talking about me?
No, I'm not talking about you. She would act like she's mad until the boyfriend or fiance was like, oh, well, and then they would have sex and now she's all happy, because she got the apology and now she's using sex to get the apology.
Oh. I guess there are people that... I guess that would go both ways, though. I think there's... I don't know.
Well, men do it. I'm going to say men do it, too. I want to go golfing. I'm going to do something nice for you. I'm going to do the dishes. Not necessarily me. Let's say men do it also.
No, I know. We're not, it's not about us.
We're not talking about just strictly sex. I'm prostituting my services so I can get something in return. Whether it's money or a night out with the guys or a shopping trip or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
It's still the same thing, and this is what happening in Hollywood. I'm a attractive person. I've got some talent. I've shown some talent that I can act. I have nothing else to give you. I'm going to prostitute myself out to get that role.
Oh, I'm sure that happens all the time, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's how the name Casting Couch came to be. Going back to what you were saying, though, about forcing themselves on somebody when there's other options, that's why I do believe in controlled, government-monitored prostitution. I do. I believe... Listen, I used to watch the show Cat House. Love that show.
I've never watched
Love that show.
It was
Love
at
that
the
show.
Bunny Ranch out in Nevada.
Bunny Ranch in Nevada. Regularly sexually transmitted disease tested women, safe facility, bodyguards, people protecting, people watching, video surveillance, everything. Okay? So these people would come in and pay for the services. I mean, Dennis Hoff has made who knows how much he's worth right now because of the business he got into. Sex sells. Sex is always sold. Sex is going to continue to sell. Let's not kid ourselves. Go to Backpage. Sex is being sold, okay? They talk about massages or dates or whatever. You're paying these people to sleep with you. Why not just make it legalized and set it up in structured situations and make it happen?
We're one of the few countries that is so against it.
I don't understand why. From a government perspective, they could tax that stuff and there'd be a lot of money to be made.
No, absolutely. There's a lot of things that the United States doesn't.
And I don't know if they're going to say, well, it's a moral corruption. We are so morally corrupt as a country that prostitution is just would just be the tip of the iceberg. It wouldn't even be,
Before anybody gets mad at me, too, I'm not talking about sex trafficking. I'm not talking about that.
No.
I'm not talking about, pimps and their chicks, or like the drug related, anything like that, like where they pimp these chicks out for drugs or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about willing, wanting people that like to have sex or is okay with having sex, working, and that's their job. That's their job. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. They get paid to do it. Some people are really good at it and they're not really good at other things, or they just don't want to do other things, and there you go. Problem solved. Case solved. It's fixed. And that would probably reduce the amount of people, hopefully, wanting to rape other people. I mean...
Right, but what's gonna stop it as far as the Hollywood and the high profile? I don't think it's gonna stop.
No, because, clearly the money's there. It's not like that's an issue. They could pay whoever they wanted to. I think that's just a power thing.
It's got to be a power thing. It's got to be... It's just...
But is it... Well, yeah, I guess that is really right.
I know, like, the three of us won't ever fully understand it because that's not our world. We can read as much as we want, but we don't have the full stories on anything.
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going down.
No, we could make speculation like, back when I said, like, well, the girl should never went there the second time. That's just my opinion. I don't know the whole story, but I still think if you put yourself in a situation, knowingly put yourself in a situation, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for you.
Part of you have to know when you're going into it that something may happen if it's happened the first time.
Right.
If you walk through those doors, then you've already had the mental conversation with yourself. Okay, I know Harvey's probably going to make moves on me about this. What is there to be lost by this? And what is there to be gained by this?
Correct.
And if they walk through those doors a second, a third, and a fourth time, they've probably already thought about the fact of what they've had to gain from it.
Right.
And they're probably mad because they didn't get exactly what they thought the bargain was going to be.
Well, I think they got the deal that they wanted, and I think then they became famous, and they got the role and everything else, and they were like, well, I want something else from it, too.
I shouldn't have had to do it that way.
I shouldn't have had to do it that way. I did it that way.
Well, your morals were broken back then.
Right.
You didn't care back then before you became famous, but now you care now that you are famous. Mm-hmm. It's like dancing with the devil. You make a deal with the devil.
Yes.
If you're going to make that deal with the devil, get ready to give your soul away. If you're going to walk into these places knowing that this is what it's about, here's the breakdown, here's what's going to happen, I'm going to make this for you, and you're going to do this for me. Devil don't give back souls after you sell it to him. Like, sorry about that. That's sorry for your luck. And what does that fix? What does that fix?
Nothing.
I think maybe the question of the day should be, when does it stop? When is it sexual harassment?
Right.
When does it become sexual harassment? And what do you do to stop it from getting that far?
I think so. I think that's a good step. What do you consider?
What do you consider sexual harassment? Unwanted sexual harassment.
Or when do you think sexual harassment should be reported?
Right. It's going to be worded a little better on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll
page
figure it out.
We're figuring it out right now.
We're brainstorming. But that's our show today. I know we were kind of in all different directions, from Jell-O to prostitution.
Jell-O to hello.
Yeah, and everything kind of in between. But this Matt Lauer circumstance,
it's still a shock to me every time, I think.
Well, no, it's overwhelming, and there's so much of it.
It's scary. It scares me, being a person that's free with my words and my expressing myself.
Yeah.
Matt Lauer's situation scares me. It does scare me, and then I think back, oh my gosh, I can't take back what I said. I can't take back what I did.
Is something going to come back and haunt me 3 years later? Yeah,
so I guess maybe for me it's been disturbing, and it's been laying on my soul pretty heavy all day today, because I start to assess myself as a person, and I begin to think, oh no, how should I look at my workplace tomorrow?
Well, the fact that you even second guess that puts you above
what these people are doing,
because they just think it's okay.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
I don't want to hurt anybody,
right.
But I do like to laugh, and I don't take anything. People can look at me and crack jokes with me all the time. If I dish it out, I want it back.
Yeah,
I love that conversation and that laugh. So
that's our show. That's our show for today. Let us know what you think. Comments about the show, or maybe personal experiences if you want to share with people, so they know that maybe they're not the only one, and give them the courage to maybe come forward if they haven't came forward already.
Yeah, and if you have a story to tell and you want it to be anonymous, just send us a message, and we would, of course, post your story anonymously.
Right, and even if not about the topic of today's show, like Sam said, if you just want to give us feedback about the show, we would really like to hear from you how you think we're doing. So if you want to send us a message and say way to go, or if you want to say, hey,
think we suck? I mean,
baby, stop drinking so much wine on Wednesdays.
No, I think those are our best episodes.
I think so. I said that. So
I don't know about everybody else, but you know what? I listened to them again after the fact, and
I enjoy them.
I enjoy them thoroughly.
So that's today's episode of Too Large and a Sarge.